Hey everyone, welcome back to a new year of Satanix reviews. When you think of action movies with a ton of comedy, what are some of the films you think of? Some may think of the recent Marvel movies, Men in Black, or even Lethal Weapon. These are movies you wouldn't consider comedies, but they have elements of comedy to give it personality. Well, the first movie that made me realize that this combination can work is the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. As for the two Pirates movies afterwards, Curse of the Black Pearl was the first of these movies, so I'll be talking about that one first. Apparently, when this movie was advertised, a lot of people thought it was going to suck. Sure, Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow is considered an iconic performance, but people didn't think that way when they saw the trailer for this movie. It looked like it was too silly and stupid. Then, when the movie came out, it turned out that was the point. This is a movie that's not meant to be taken seriously, and it's more like a turn your brain off kind of movie. Which isn't to say that it makes it bad, it just means that you have to adjust your suspension of disbelief to accept that this is just a goofy pirate movie. The movie's plot, character motivations, and world building are pretty easy to follow. It's a world that's very similar to the real world, but clearly has some supernatural elements that can exist. So I personally don't really care about tropical settings, beaches, or the ocean in general. I hear a ton of people who go crazy for these types of settings, but I personally find it one of my least favorite settings in anything. Sometimes it actually lowers my opinion of what I'm experiencing, like Wind Waker or even Moana. This, however, is one of my exceptions. I think it's because it relies on character and personality rather than emphasizing its location that I really just don't think looks that visually interesting. If anything, I feel like this movie manages to use a lot of ships, sets, and locations to make the setting more visually interesting. So it really does manage the impossible, make the ocean an exciting setting for me. With that said, I don't think it would have worked had the characters not been so memorable. Yeah, Jack Sparrow is just as weird but entertaining as people say he is, but some other characters really work as well off each other. I still remember Gibbs, Mr. Cotton, Norrington, the comic relief duo where one of them has a fake eye, the other members of the pirate crew. Sorry, I'm bad at remembering names, but you get who I'm referring to if you've seen the movie. With that said, I feel like the one character who might actually be just as entertaining as Jack is Captain Barboza, the main villain of the movie. Jeffrey Rush's performance makes him look, act, and sound like he was born to play a pirate and that he's been waiting all his life to be in this role. I'm fully convinced that this man became a pirate who just wants to do whatever the hell he wants. He's so over the top and goofy that I could watch him all day. It's funny how I consider him a main villain because he's more of an antagonist. Sure, he's not a good guy, but his entire goal is to get a curse lifted. With that said, he does still screw everyone over at some point, including his own crew. There's literally a scene where he just shoots one of his own crew members to test whether or not he lifted the curse or not caring if that crew member died or not. Speaking of which, I love how this movie is a hard PG-13. I mean, this isn't like a modern Star Wars movie where it's really violent and they say some swear words every once in a while. I'm talking hearts being ripped out from Temple of Doom, blood spraying on the crowd and Adam's family, and faces being burnt in the Dark Knight. I'm pretty shocked this is a Disney movie, but with that said, I feel like this is going further away from Walt Disney's original plan of making entertainment that everyone can watch. But I also have to remind myself that Disney owns and sometimes makes R-rated movies, so I guess this is to be expected in between that. I know it's not something I'm complaining about, but it is odd considering Walt's original vision. But hey, a fun movie is still a fun movie. Seriously, this movie has wildly entertaining action sequences. Seeing Disney do an action movie with a ton of stunt work is really impressive to watch. The first fight scene on Port Royal gives you an idea of how riveting the action feels. Of course, this movie also has some fun ship battles, brawl fights, and classic sword fights. Sword fights are one of my favorite tropes. Nothing's more classic than dueling with swords to see who gets on top. There are special effects as well, but they're used pretty sparingly. They're only used for Barbossa's crew when they're transformed into undead pirates or even for action scenes when it's needed. Either way, the action really makes this movie fly by pretty quickly. This movie is nearly 2.5 hours long, and it doesn't even feel like that to me. If anything, this might be a hot take, but I find these movies more fun to watch than the original Star Wars trilogy. Now, don't get me wrong, those movies are clearly better, but when I think of movie trilogies I can rewatch over and over again, the ones that come to mind are the original Star Wars trilogy, Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, and these movies. I know these movies aren't as complex as those movies can get, but they know just what they are and have fun with them. Honestly, every time I hear that classic Hans Zimmer theme, yeah, you know the one. That kind of music really gets me excited and makes me feel like a kid again. Whenever people think of pirate movies or, heck, even just pirates in general, these movies do usually come to mind. Now, would I consider them kids' movies or family movies considering that they're made by Disney? Well, no, but I don't think there's gonna be anything that'll mess them up as long as they know that they're not set in reality. I'd say older kids could definitely watch them because I watched all three movies as a 7-year-old and got out of them fine. Even when one of them got too intense for me, I just turned the movie off and try another time. The first one, however, I could watch all the way through, even as a 7-year-old. I think I knew it was a movie that I wasn't supposed to take all that seriously. It's a Disney movie about pirates. I think you're supposed to find these movies just dumb fun. But that said, there are a few things I admit don't hold up all that great. For one thing, I'm always reminded that the second and third movies, while they do have more flaws, do explain things a bit better than this movie. Also, if there's one main character I just didn't get all that invested in as an adult, it's Will Turner. Now, I'm not saying he's bad, it's just that I don't feel like Orlando Bloom brought that much to his role as where all the other main characters, including Elizabeth, did feel like the actors portraying them had a sense of personality. I don't know, I feel like he's the character in these movies I just don't love, even though I don't find him unlikable. Well, aside from the third movie, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Regardless, I don't blame the actor. I don't even blame anyone. It's just, I do kind of wish this role needed a character actor, but at the same time, I think these movies needed a straight man for all the strange things going on. Also, there's a moment where Elizabeth and Jack are trapped on an island, and it's made very clear that they can escape from there, so don't know why they got stranded on this island. Seriously, Barboza later acts so shocked that Jack comes back when really they should have seen this coming. With that said, this is once again me just nitpicking because I have to struggle to think of anything bad in this movie, which is very difficult for me to do. Okay, I'm not saying it's flawless or anything, but with Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, no one really expects perfection. You're probably just asking yourself, is it at least fun to watch? And it is. This movie is a lot of fun to watch if you're a fan of action movies, and even if you're not the biggest fan of action, you might want to check this movie out anyway, if you can handle a movie that's intentionally silly in a lot of areas. Either way, hoist the colors and set sail for this movie for a swashbuckling good time. Did I really just say that? God, I need to grow up sometimes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Till then, everyone.